when they found out I was having twins. That person had the most stone face, didn't give up a detail ever because the doctor had to give the information. But I kept seeing her type baby A and baby B. I'm like, well, maybe it's a view from here and a view from there.
So we would like to thank Marvin Reese for making this possible. However, the person that we're going to thank more so is today Nakia Evans. I put very little there, but there's still some story on there that if you don't know her, she is Greater Baltimore Board of Realtors past president for 2022. She is a licensed realtor. The list is could keep going. She's a mother of three. She has twins and the boy, the first child, who has welcomed a grandchild for her that she shares with us. So when you connect with her, you will definitely get to learn about her grandchild. Her favorite quote is, "Let's get moving." The website where you are able to get everything about her is movingwithnakia.com. We are ready for you, Nakia. Take it away.
All right. Because as we talk about listening, we're going to get into a good conversation, and listening can take you all around the world, right? But today we're going to stay on how to become an effective listener. So let's take a look first at the definition of listening. Oh, and one second, Brenda, thank you for having me on your calls. You are helping hundreds and hundreds of realtors grow every single year, year over year after year. Lots of realtors, tons of realtors across the United States get to see results because of their sessions, their growth Fridays, their continuing education, their training classes. Anytime you're involved in teaching us, I said us, we expand, we extend our reach, and we grow and we grow and we grow. So thank you, and thank you for hosting these Friday calls, and thank you for having me as a guest today. I
Sure.
almost to say that in the beginning. All right. So let's take a look at the definition of listening. All in all, listening is to give attention to sound, hear what others say, and try to understand what that means. I'm going to say that again. Give attention to sound, hear what others say, and try to understand what that means exactly. Listening is going to get you more information. It's going to increase your trust in others. It's going to help you to reduce conflict and it's going to allow you to get a better understanding how to motivate, influence, and inspire. Okay. It reduces conflict. I'm going to say that again because it's going to be important. And I think we're going to have a lot of realtors on the call today. It's going to reduce conflict and allow you to get a better understanding of how to motivate, influence, and inspire. I'll talk a little bit more about those three words as it relates to real estate transactions and negotiation soon. Listening is also going to enhance your ability to understand. So when you're listening, you're taking in, you are hearing what others say, and you are understanding. You're trying to understand what it really means. Okay, I'm going to tell you how we do that while listening as well. Listening is also going to make you a better communicator. The first time I had this session, another coach sat on the front seat, right? She sat on the front row in the session. And at the end, she said, well, how does listening help speakers? And I wanted to say, really, as a good speaker, a good presenter, you're truly listening while you're talking. Okay. Well, how do you listen while you talk? All right, we're going to talk about it. I'm telling y'all, I'm going to get to the bottom of all of this. All right. Let me also break down listen in an acronym. The L is for listen to learn. We're going to hear the number 85% in just a moment. Listen to learn. I'm going to tell you 85% of the time. Listen to learn. L is also for let the speaker speak. When someone's talking, let them speak, let them finish, let them continue on until they prompt you to now join the conversation. All right. Listen, there is no I in listen, even though it's spelled Li. There is no I in listen. We are going to talk about interjecting. We're going to talk about inputting yourself into situations. when you're not supposed to. Interaction and intentional. You're going to listen intentionally. Interaction, listen. So as someone else talks, I listen. As I talk, they listen. So listening is about interaction as well. The S is going to be for stay focused, space to share, and say it back. But most importantly, I want to let y'all know that the S stands for you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to remain silent. We see that on all the criminal shows and all the First 48 and all that good stuff. But you really have the right to remain silent. And that's what listening is all about, being silent while someone else is talking. The T is for tune out distractions, or the teacher is teaching, or tune out distractions while the teacher is teaching. Okay. E is for engaged, empathy, education, elaborate, encourage, engage. We're going to talk about engagement. Listening requires engagement. Okay. The N is for no advice unless requested. We all, as human beings, have the thought that we are being asked for advice whenever someone's talking to us, right? We think that's what a conversation is. We think that's when someone tells us a sad story that we're supposed to give advice. No, no advice unless requested. That's what that N is standing for. It's also going to stand for negotiation skills. And now it's my turn. I've listened to you. Now it's my turn to speak. Okay. That is listen in an acronym. So let's ask the question. Let's ask yourself, do you think you're a good listener? I have to tell you that listening, the odds are not in your favor to be a good listener. The average person only listens with 25% efficiency. Can you believe that? I can't even believe it. But when you think about it, if you think on it just a little bit more, you can truly believe it. Think about a conversation you've had recently, especially with like a spouse or a loved one. Did you feel that the other person was listening? Did you feel they were trying to multitask? Or even when you were in a conversation with someone at work, were they still working and you weren't sure if they were listening? Well, the average person is only able to listen 25% of the time. Even though these are the statistics on listening, 85% of learning is derived from listening. Do you guys know that's why like audio books came into play? Like we can read, but if we listen, we learn 85% better. We have a better chance of learning from listening. And that's why audio books, and that's why books, the recordings, or watching and listening to YouTube videos per se. Listening to videos, listening to someone talk, we can learn because we're listening. That's 85% of learning is coming from listening. Now, 45% of our time awake is spent listening. So how does that play into part? So 45% of my time that I'm woke, I'm listening to something, right? Unless I'm just alone in a room, there's no TV, there's no radio, there's not no anything playing, then something different. But if you are out and about, if you are mobile, even being in a store, if you are interacting with people, you are spending time listening. If you are in a conversation, if you're making phone calls, which all of this is our work, right? As a real estate agent or as a business owner, we have to listen. So how do we use our effective listening skills, our active listening skills, and our critical listening skills? While we are listening, we evaluate what is being said and how it's being said. Y'all hear that? Evaluate what is being said and how it's being said. So it's just not the words that we're listening for. We are going to look for some body language, okay? We're going to hear what the other person says, and we are going to try our best to understand what it means. The goal of an active listener is to get as much information as possible in an efficient manner. Now, for us, business owners or people who hold consultations, we want to get as much information possible, efficiently as possible, and as fast as possible, because this world is always moving. It's always going fast. The world's just moving at a fast pace right now. They always say we have a microwave society. We want answers, and we want answers now. So effective listening means that you will be an active listener that pulls information from conversation. Okay. So you have a conversation, you may be having a conversation, you may be asking questions, and that question now leads you to another question. Okay. Being an effective listener means that you are giving someone respect. Okay. You are actively absorbing the information while showing the person that's speaking that you are engaged with them. You're making eye contact. You are making sure that the person who's speaking knows that you're paying attention. You're taking notes. How many people take notes during a conversation? You're taking notes. During a consultation, you're taking notes. That shows the other person that you are getting the information. You may not have it crusted in your brain right this second, but if you take notes, at least you respect what they're saying and you are taking it in. To be an active listener and an effective listener, you're also going to give feedback to what is said. You're going to thank the person who for giving you information. You're going to let them know that you heard them and you understood them. Okay. Effective listening is going to reduce conflict. Here's where we get into negotiations, right? When you are on one side of the transaction versus the other side, if you listen to the other side, there can be a slight reduction in conflict, right? You can find the negotiation point. You can fine tune your strategy just by listening and letting the other person talk and give you information. The more information you have, the better off you can negotiate or come back with a solution. You can resolve problems simply by listening. Okay. So that will put an end to some conflict. You're always going to listen more than you speak. All right. Listening is going to precede speaking. You have to get information so that you can transfer information back. A conversation is one person gives some information, may even ask a question. Then the next person answers or gives information back, right? So that's why listening is always going to precede you speaking. You always want to have information before you give information, or get enough information before you begin to speak. All right. Listening is a ministry. Listening. Think about someone that is a great leader. The last conversation you had with them, did you feel that they were listening to you? Did you feel you were respected in that conversation? Did you feel that your opinion was respected? Did you feel that they were giving you a little bit of love, a little bit of light, a little bit of patience? Because you had a long story. Oh my goodness. When people come with those long stories, y'all know we be out of patience, and it'd be like, hold on. I cannot get all of this information right there. Let me write some of it down. But did you have patience? Did that person have patience with you? Did that person get all of the information before offering you a solution or offering you the cold shoulder? That's what we're going to talk about, body language. So when you're talking, if you see someone with their arms crossed, or they be like this, if they are not attentive to you, body language is very important in watching during a conversation. If you're giving information, if you're delivering bad news, if you're trying to negotiate, the body language is very important. Okay. Body language tells you a lot. So during your consultation calls, during your meetings, while we were during COVID, we spent a lot of time on telephone instead of in person. Then here came this great Zoom. I'm on camera now, right? You guys see my hands moving. You see my expressions. You see whether or not I'm frowning. You see whether I'm not confused, right? Why don't you guys try by your consultations, if they can't be in person, or even some of your phone calls, some of your interviews. Why don't you guys try some of that on Zoom so that you're able to see body language? I do 9 out of 10 of my phone calls via Zoom. Okay. If you need to talk to me about anything, just about, and we have to have a conversation. We have to go back and forth. I need to see how you feel about the situation. I want to Zoom with you. If I'm just meeting you for the first time, I want to Zoom with you. That way I can see your face. I can read your body language. I can see how you're reacting to the things that I'm saying or reacting to the questions that I'm asking. So body language is important. And guess what? Zoom has made it possible for us to get body language over the phone. Hello, through a conversation when we are not together. Now, let's talk about distractions. Put down your phones sometimes. If you're having a conversation with a family member, if you have a conversation with a spouse, or even in a business meeting, during a buyer consultation, a listing presentation, hopefully you have a computer, hopefully you may have a tablet or you have a paper folder. If you don't need your phone, if you aren't going to take calls during an event, if you aren't going to take calls while you're in a meeting with someone else, it's nice to put your phone down. That shows respect. Okay. That shows that you have removed barriers out of the conversation. You have removed distraction out of the conversation. Putting down your phone will help you listen. It will increase your listening skills just that much more by just simply putting down the phone. I know you guys are having this feeling, right? When you put down the phone, when you effectively listening, you are attentive. You're more attentive. Be attentive when someone is speaking, but also be relaxed. Because if you're on edge, if you're like, hurry up, if you're on edge, that person does not feel comfortable maybe sharing some information, or that person feels like they're being rushed and you won't get enough information from that person. So you want to be attentive when you're listening, but you don't want to be forceful. You don't want to make the person feel rushed. You don't want to be anxious. You want to be relaxed while listening. Okay. Listening requires an open mind. How many times have you been listening and you already knew the answer? You already formed your own opinion? We got to stop doing that, because sometimes we have an opinion from a conversation previously, but each situation is never the same. We may have had a deal that went one way or a deal that went sour because of one thing, but in real estate we're always able to negotiate. We should always have an open mind. We should always listen with our open minds. Get all of the facts first. When you're listening to someone or you're listening to someone read something, you can also picture the words. Like, you should hear a story sometimes. If someone's giving you a situation or answering a question and it's drawn out a little bit, you should be able to picture their words. You should be able to picture what they're telling you in your brain. So sometimes listen in order to picture someone else's words. That's another listening skill. Okay. Now, where are all the misconceptions in listening? What do we do wrong when we're listening that we're not supposed to be doing? Well, we often impose solutions. And the key word here is your solution. Instead of asking someone else how they feel, what do you feel would resolve the situation? Guess who does this the most? Realtors under contract. You impose your solution when honestly the buyer and the seller should be negotiating or wheeling and dealing, or should be giving you the answer. In real estate, you're like the coach, but the buyer and the seller are the players. But we have a misconception as real estate agents that we are supposed to impose our solution. So sometimes we should listen to how the other person feels or how our client feels about the situation until we have been asked Well, what do you think the solution is? Or what do you think would resolve this issue? What do you think I should pay for this house? What do you think I should answer to the buyer? What do you think I should tell the seller? Right? So stop imposing your solutions and listen for someone else's solution first. Then you can mix the two up. Or if you know the legal answer, because we, a lot of times know the legal answer. If you know the legal answer or you know the lawful answer, then you can impose a solution. It's probably not your solution. It's the law says this, the law says that. But letting other people have a chance to say how they feel or how they would resolve an issue is very important, and especially in real estate. Okay. What about interruptions? What does it say when you interrupt someone while you were supposed to be listening, but they were talking and you just interrupted? You didn't let them finish. How do you feel when someone interrupts you, when someone doesn't let you finish your conversation? You feel disrespected. You feel unheard. Sometimes you'll feel small. You feel like that person doesn't care, right? So we have to stop doing that, because that's how other people feel when we do that. Or if someone's listening over there, don't interrupt the person that's listening to something else with what you have to say. You have to let them finish listening before you can begin talking. All right. So I always tell my mother, I get into it with her sometimes. I'll be like, listen, miss, a conversation is you talk, I answer, I ask, you answer, vice versa. We have to understand that a conversation is actually listening. So we know, after we understand, we know how to respond, or we know when to respond when the other person stops talking. We don't have to interrupt when the person is supposed to be talking. All right. Sometimes your body language, or if you talk while a speaker is speaking, you kind of put the speaker on defense. So when someone's talking, kind of listening, actively listening, picturing their words, all of the skills that I just gave helps the speaker feel at ease, and then the speaker is not so much defensive. So if you ask a question during a consultation and it's like a bad answer, fix your face. Number one, as people always tell me, fix your face, fix your body language, and just listen attentively. Picture their words, understand what they're trying to tell you, but don't put them on defense. And this is a good one. How do we not cause conflict during a conversation? Don't be a topper. Y'all know what a topper is in a conversation? It's somebody can say, oh, I graduated number 3 in my class in high school. And then the other person says, oh, I graduated number 1 in my class. Don't do that. That people do not like when you do that. It sounds like, it's part of the conversation, or you want to have a conversation back and forth, like, oh, the me too symptoms. They call people like Mrs. Me Too or Mr. Me Too. Like, you can be like, oh, I won the lottery in 2012. And somebody else say, oh, I won the lottery in 2015. Nobody asked you that. Hold on. I'm trying to give my side of the story now. I actually recently had this happen to me. I really wasn't trying to be a topper. I was kind of like being in the conversation, but the person felt like I was trying to be a topper. I was trying to let the person kind of understand and feel, oh, we have something in common. Nope, it didn't work. I was seen as a topper. So you got to watch out for that. And that's just, that's an effective listening skill. Don't be a topper. Keep it in your brain. Oh yeah, I did this too. Or this happened to me too. And don't even give that part, because people will think you're trying to top them. I just wanted the person to know, oh, we got something else in common. Didn't work. All right, advice again. Unsolicited advice is only 50% or less received well. So sometimes when someone comes to you with all of their drama, all of their problems, all of the things that they just had to tell somebody, they really weren't looking for an answer. They weren't looking for advice. They just wanted somebody to talk to. So actively listening, effectively listening, listening to try to understand. You got to try to understand. That try to understand is really, really important in listening. Okay. Because you have to decipher Is this person asking me for advice? Is this person wanting me to interject? Is this person wanting to find something in common with me? Like, what is the objective of this conversation? Where does this person want to move the conversation? And that's going to lead us right into probe. Probe. Let me give y'all the definition of probe. Probe, actually, I think it's on our next slide. Yes, probe is to explore thoroughly, search into questions closely, and ask more questions just to be sure, to clarify. So, when we need to get more information or we need to find out more, we need to dig a little deeper, we are going to probe, we are going to clarify. Okay, we're going to make sure that the person understands that we just really want more information. We, especially in a tense situation, you don't want to have someone feel that you're accusing them of something, right? Because that person will become defensive. So when you are probing and asking more questions, you want the person to feel comfortable and make sure that you aren't accusing them of anything. I'm going to give you a question to kind of guide them so that they understand that you're not accusing them of anything in the next slide. You're going to always, always, always thank people for sharing information during the conversation. So if someone tells you, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and this zip code, it has to have this, it has to have that. Just respond while you're trying to understand. You could respond with, thank you for giving me that information. Let me think on that. Let me think if I've seen anything recently that meets that description. Okay. But just a simple thank you for sharing that information with me. Or someone calls to give you, oh, my lender said that it's going to be another 2 weeks before we can go to settlement. Well, thank you for giving me that information. I'll be sure to follow up with your lender about that on my own as well. Always thank people for sharing information. So I have one great question that I can use in any situation, in any business, anywhere in the world. And that question is, what have you done so far in this process? What have you done so far in this process? Everybody should write that question down. That question gets people to talking, and it gets people to telling on themselves, and it gets information that you never even knew that you wanted or needed, right? What have you done so far in this process? Just walk into a buyer consultation, and your first question, or after you get through the introductions and the warming up, what have you done so far in this process? And literally set up a time clock and see how long that person talks. That person is going to give you every detail of their process or what they did. They're going to say, you know, I woke up in the morning, I saw a commercial on TV, I called my cousin, I was like, should I buy a house this week? Should I not? Then I looked on Facebook, I asked my friends, who should I buy? Then my cousin told me they had a real estate license, but they were in New Jersey. I'm in Baltimore. So they told me to look online and find a real estate agent. Or they told me they had a friend too. They told me they had a friend. So, but they ain't called me back yet about that friend. But you're going to get so much information, right? That's going to lead you to ask clarifying questions. So what if you ask that question? What have you done so far in this process? And the buyer, I'm going to give it from the buyer's point of view. The buyer says, oh, I looked on the internet. I went on a company's website, something.com, and that company let me push a button and said, take a tour. So I took a tour. I went and met the agent at 3 different houses. That agent really didn't talk to me a lot while I was in the house. I wanted them to talk to me a little more, tell me a little bit more about the house, but they didn't do any of that. So I went back online. I asked my friends on Facebook for an agent, and then I called you. And then somebody online told me I better fire that other real estate agent first, and you know this, that, and another. Now you got to clarify some things, right? You can ask some of these questions, right? What made you decide to do that? Well, what made you decide to go on the internet? What made you decide to push that go on a tour button? right? Or what was that the best course of action at the time when the person says that they called up another real estate agent instead of going back out with that one? Or if a person tells you, oh, I went to a new home construction company and I found a house I wanted, so I signed the contract, then I went home and I slept on it, and I called and told them I did not want that house. Whew, was that the best course of action at that time? Like, did you talk to anybody? Did you get any information, any details? Did you write them a check? Like, what made you do that? What made you decide to do that? Like, was it just you going to sleep and waking up? Like, what did you dream about? Like, what happened? So you got to clarify. You're also clarifying that because if they did that without you, they can do that with you. Or when you ask about, well, how what have you done so far in this process? You heard an example was that I called my cousin who's a real estate agent in New Jersey, and they were going to refer me to an agent, but they didn't call me back yet, and I need to see this house today. Well, what if you don't like this house today? We go out and see it. Then your cousin calls you tomorrow with that agent's name and information. Have you thought about your next step? Like, are you going to fire me? Or are you going to end the relationship with me? Or do you really want to work with me? So you do have to ask clarifying questions. These are some good ones. Screenshot the screen. These are like the best questions you can ask. These help people they don't feel intimidated. That what made you decide to do that? That is the accusation workaround question. Or was that the best course of action at that time? Instead of accusing the person of making a mistake, you ask them, you help them to decide whether or not they made a mistake. Was that the best course of action at that time? That sounds so much better than why in the heck would you do that? What made you like, why? Like, why would you even make that decision? Like, what happened? Like, you make a person feel defensive or you make them feel smaller when you ask certain questions. So these questions asked in the correct way will make people feel comfortable, and you will reach your goal as an active listener by obtaining more and more, as much information as possible in the most effective manner, right? By these clarifying questions. So in conclusion, I'm going to tell you that you can grow your business, you can gain knowledge, you can gain education, you can just get information simply by listening. Listening is what it's going to take to grow your business. If you are that person where the listening is like at 25% or 85% of our time is spent listening, but you're not listening to 85% of our learning is through listening, but you're not listening to anything. You're not attending any workshops. You're not attending any class. You're not watching any YouTube University videos on how to. You're not coming to the Grow Fridays. If you're not listening, then how much of your time learning is being lost? Okay, that's something for you to seriously consider, and just think of how much more you can gain and grow your business by simply listening, being an effective listener. Let's go back to effective listening is actively absorbing information while showing someone else that you are engaged, while showing the person speaking to you that you are engaged in a conversation. It's so simple, but we've never thought about it from that point of view. So, in all, I do want to say thank you again. I want to thank Brenda for hosting these sessions. I want to give you my contact information. I got a little QR code up there. My website is Moving with Nakia or NakiaEvans.com. Either one takes you to the same place. And that's my phone number there. And you can always reach me whenever you need me. And the door is open for questions.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I'd like to practice what I've just been taught. Thank you, Nakia, so much for sharing the information. And I am going to give you feedback as to my takeaway is including that sentence when I'm talking to people. Thank you for sharing that information. Now, like what's next and so on. So that is my takeaway for this session. I welcome you to share what your takeaways are for this particular conversation.
When I first thought about listening and went through this training on listening, I didn't know that some of these things, it's little small things. Like, I mean, we learn in body language, we learn in communications training about body language, but do we really know as a speaker that body language was a part of listening, not just seeing, not just understanding, or not just a feeling? It's really us under listening to see how a person feels or is reacting to the conversation. So the body language has become so important because listening is important, but that body language is also something for you to listen to, not just see. And it helps us to understand how a person feels.
And my takeaway is watch your face. When you said that, I had to giggle because people always assume what I'm saying from my facial expressions. Like instantly, they'll just, and I don't know like how to work on it, but I'm trying to work on it because everyone can. It's like a telltale of like that I don't like it or I didn't understand it, or it's just my face. Everybody for years they go, you don't like it, or oh, did I offend you? And I'm like, no, that's just a facial expression. But I have to really work on that. But that really stuck with me.
Yeah, that is the number one thing that everybody needs to work on, except like those detectives in those big murder cases. Like they have like just a straight face. Or a good interrogator, again, is listening, watching body language and all that good stuff. But they also have that stone face. A judge, oh my goodness. Judges, I don't know if they went to facial expression school, body language school. I don't know what they did to develop that stern, still look, no matter what the evidence comes in and says, no matter how the defendant is acting, no matter how stupid the prosecution case is, judges have the best stone face ever. Judges, interrogators, lawyers, lawyers become judges. So all in that realm, and doctors, or y'all know, you ever been to like when they send you to radiology or send you to get an x-ray, and that person in that daggone x-ray room sees that big old break. They see the whole broken bone, or the ultrasound. I'll tell y'all the doctor story for me. The person in the ultrasound room, when they found out I was having twins, that person had the most stone face, didn't give up a detail ever, because the doctor had to give the information. But I kept seeing her type baby A and baby B. I'm like, well, maybe it's a view from here and a view from there. But when she's like, I was like, Miss, is it like, well, you kept typing A and B? And she's like, you have to talk to your doctor. And like her face did not move. And I'm like, what you mean? I got to talk to my doctor. I don't like that. Like, you're not supposed to tell me anything. Well, we at the radiologist, we can't say anything, or, we can't give you any information, but your doctor's going to call you today. I'm like, what in the heck? Why can't you say something? But they have the best stone faces ever. So, Tiffany, we need to go take some lessons from them on the face. And Brenda, you too. I'm going to include you as well.
Yes, I am guilty of that. I don't know if I'm getting better. I'm still working at it. But when somebody says something, I will look down and find something to take my distraction away, whether it's a pen or something, just so that my face doesn't show it. Because especially when you volunteer for stuff like what you just shared, like a judge. So when I volunteer for professional standards, and people are sharing their stories, and you have to be neutral, not telling them you agree. And I shake my head a lot. I have to tell myself, I have to keep talking to myself. Don't smile, don't do anything. Yes, that's practice. Thank you, Tiffany, for sharing.
Yeah.
And that is so true because I was actually in court and I was supposed to be picked for, well, jury duty or whatever, but I was glad it got me out. But like when they brought out the plaintiff, I happened to know them and my face just showed it. And then the judge, as soon as I went up there, they asked me, they was like, do you know the defendant? Because when the defendant came out, your face just, I was like, oh man, my face tells everything. But I was glad that it worked that time because I didn't want to do jury duty.
Right, right. Yes. Thank you for sharing, Tiffany. Taisha, thank you as well. We received your message that what she received from the session today is you get more information when you talk less and listen more. Thank you for sharing that, Taisha.
Ms. Janice said her takeaway was the clarifying questions. Those are some really good questions. I hope y'all screenshot that, wrote those down. If you add them to your consultations, if you add them in your personal conversations, if you're in a relationship, in a relationship and you have to question your spouse or your significant other, start using that. Was that the best course of action at the time? What made you decide to do that? Instead of be like, you big dummy, like why would you do that? But what made you decide to do that? That just sounds so much more pleasant and confrontational. What made you do that? Or what made you decide to do that? Or have you thought about your next step? I love, have you thought about your next step? Especially in with buyers or sellers, say a contract falls through. That's a great question. Have you thought about your next step? Like, what do we do? And they could be like, I don't even want to look for no more houses. I'm going to sign my lease. That's a great question to find out what someone's next step is. Have you thought about your next step? We always say, well, what we going to do now? Or we always simplify it. But what we going to do now kind of sounds a little down. But have you thought about your next step? It also allows people to feel in control of the situation by you kind of give them control. Words like you, adding words like you or help into your conversations or your questions, just putting it back, giving them back the ownership. Was that the best course of action at that time? Could you have done anything different? Is really a way to give back the conversation and let the other person feel more in control. So thank you again, Brenda. I love having this conversation about listening because it opens people's eyes, especially those questions. Oh my goodness. It really opens up people's eyes and it changes the course of conversations a lot. Simply just listening and being quiet. And that's a skill I'm still working on. So I'm still a student in this class.
Thank you.
That was
Dee?
yeah. How y'all doing?
Good. Hello.
That was my biggest takeaway. The allowing people to finish or complete their conversation without interruption, because I've noticed a lot of people learn differently. Like they talk over top of one another in order to get their, I guess, conversation to get heard. But the thing about it is when you do it, you don't hear that other person's conversation, nor do they hear yours. So if you allow a person to finish whatever they're saying, you can actually get all the information you need without even having to ask so many questions because they're going to tell you. So that is my big takeaway.
Yes, ma'am. This list, when I tell you people that one question, what have you done so far in this process? If you use that question as your first question during a consultation, you get the whole story. I mean, you get the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you have a better understanding of how you need to move forward before you even took the first step. So I love that question as a first question, and I love just sitting back and listening and letting them talk. So take that advice, use that question, and you will have really great consultations and really good conversations. And that's inside and outside of real estate. That's in both of your businesses, lady. Listen, just ask a question, just sit back and listen.
Yeah, because I think once you put a person on defense, they no longer want to really interact.
Right.
So you scare them away. So yeah, definitely just listening.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the one. Don't use accusations. Don't put people on defense. If you stay away from those two things, the conversation will go smoothly as well. Go a little bit better.
Thank you. We want to say thank you again to Nakia for being available. That was awesome, right? You like our style? I look forward to helping you reach your goal.